Welcome back, dear students. Today we will be focusing on story writings. And story writing is a part of composition, and this one is the easiest part to be attempted. But before you start writing the stories, you should know about how we can compose the stories and what are the stories meant to. So few discussions regarding how you can compose the best stories we will discuss in this part. Before understanding this, you should understand the stories and its meaning and what does story mean. Story is not a new thing for us. We have been learning, reading stories, watching stories, listening to stories from the beginning. And it is one of the most enjoying part in our life. But when we read the notices, when we read the stories, we might have observed that all the stories what we read, these had some extraordinary effect in that. And whenever we read something now, we feel a little bit energetic, we got some enthusiasm, we got some curiosity, and this is the part of the stories. That's why we always try to read new stories. Then what they used to write in the stories? What does the story content? The stories, especially if you can see about when the stories are containing about the people, they just talk about that how peoples are caught up in a different events, just like different situations, and how they come out from that situations, or something bad or something good, or some nice characterization, some nice situation is handled by the character, or how the character is trying to come out from that overcomes. These all events we can see, and these mostly comes out by the imagination power of writer. Many stories we can just take a look at, especially you can read some novels too, because novels are also the part of the longer stories, and you will get to know that what different imagination powers the writer has, and this because of this we can have some curiosity, and the curiosity is what happened next. One example, Harry Potter series. The one book was not enough, so in order to complete the curiosity what happened next, the writer has composed seven books have been written on that. So this is what the curiosity comes out from the stories, and if you want to attempt it, you also should have to try like that. So here you have to catch the attention of the reader, and for catching attention of the reader, the story writing requires some techniques, and that techniques we are going to deal here. Here we can see, if you are not going to catch the attention or attract the attention of the reader, or there is no curiosity that what happens next, then it's a totally failure of a story. No one will be interested in reading such kind of stories. So in order to make the stories, you have to keep these three things in the mind. Attractive, it has to arouse the curiosity and let the reader understand what will happen next. And here are the few points we shall be discussing about how we can make your stories very attractive and very powerful in the nature. Take a look at here the points. The first point to be noted down is, a story need not to be full of violent action and dramatic events to be effective. This means you should not add unnecessary violent scenes from top to the bottom. Take a look at here. Some students think that unless there is a murderer or an escape from the police or a violent action in their story is boring and lacking interest. This is not necessarily so. The best stories are about ordinary, everyday events that affect the change our lives. Story means most of the students have in their mind that only the violent scene, the fighting scene, the hero is fighting for something, then he covers up this, then how the family meet and the happy ending. As we have just mostly affected by the films. It's not expected to write down all the time like that, because these are very common one and it is very violent and these are not acceptable at all. Then what type of stories which can write it down? It has to be something different. It has to be something which will help for the readers to read and understand and make use of this in their life. For example, we can make some stories based on our ordinary life. Just like Malgudi Days, the story is the best one in that we can understand how the everyday and day-to-day life is going on. And these everyday and day-to-day events will affect or have the change in our lives. We can have some moral stories, the stories which will give you some morals in the life, the stories of inspiration which will just change the way of your life. These kind of stories if you write, that will have the more effect on the reader rather than writing the violent one. So first focus has to be written on that or given on this rather than writing the violent actions. Please avoid these kind of topics. Second important point, a story must have a good plot. Plot in the sense story or a characterization. Okay. Then what type of plot it must have? We can take a look at. An atmosphere is created, the characters are selected and situations are set. First of all, you can make sure that you will put the best atmosphere according to your stories. Choose the characters, who is going to be what, and situations are set. That should be the ready with you. These all points. The story has to be ready in your mind. Second, there is an action. You have to try to put the characters into the action, or story has to be there in the action sequence wise. The action produces the reaction, in the sense when you give some actions to the characters to do something, they may make some mistakes and these mistakes leads them to follow into the different situations, and these situations how it becomes deadly to them and then how they try to overcome from that. And that can be explained with the help of day-to-day life events also. So how that action shows the reactions, and then in order to cover up that reaction, how the character overcome the obstacles and solve the problem. The effect of the action on the main characters. The main characters who are doing the action in the sentence or in the stories, how they overcome from that and what do they learn from this, and what effect the action has on the main character. Do they become depressed? Do they totally change their characters? Do they have the capacity to transform or handle that situations? How and what type of effect of that action is there onto the main character? That if you just intrigue you properly, then story will definitely the best one and it will convert into the best plot that you should focus on. That is, remember the points made in the previous chapters about the characters and descriptions. Already in the previous chapter we have thoroughly discussed about what is the characters, how we have to develop the characters. We can use the same. The characters and the setting of your story must be convincing. The descriptive details or effective expressions to depict the characters can bring them alive for your readers. The only way to convince your reader is to show that you know the people and have been to the places. When you write the characters, as like this in the descriptive essay we have discussed about that how we can describe the characters with the top to the bottom in the full details. So when you will write like that, people will understand that at least you know something about that character. So you can make this live character and people also will feel that the character is very live with them. Not only that, with the help of characterizations you can try to understand or describe their actions of the characters Let the people understand that along with the character you have gone to the various places and you also know about the places too, and this makes your story the best and outstanding one. This you should keep it in mind in a proper way. So these are the 3 points you should keep it in mind while beginning or while writing the story in an effective way. Hope this one will help you to put into the practice. Make sure you will add such kind of a points in your story writing. Few more points to be discussed. We shall discuss into the next part. Thanks a lot for watching. Thank you.